Imagine two Robert Downey Jr.'s, one still carrying the spark of the hero he once was, the other fully embracing the villain he could become. A final redemption. A final sacrifice, one last time. Tell me that wouldn't break the theater. What if Tony Stark didn't die in Endgame? What if the man behind the mask had a darker future? Could Tony Stark actually be a variant of Doctor Doom? And could he return, not as Iron Man, but alongside Doctor Doom himself in Avengers Doomsday? Is RDJ back and playing two sides? And will Tony sacrifice himself again in Secret Wars to finally save the multiverse? Let's dive deep into this crazy theory. First of all, give us a like, hit the subscribe button, and share this video after watching. This is going to be crazy ride. So let's get started. Let's start with the big picture. The MCU is a multiversal mess right now, and we love it. After Loki cracked open the multiverse, Spider-Man No Way Home brought us 3 Spideys, and Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness showed us variants who are wildly different from their counterparts. We know one thing for sure. Anything is possible. Heroes can become villains. Villains can become heroes. And somewhere out there, in the infinite branches of reality, there's a version of Tony Stark who didn't die a hero. A version who looked at the chaos of the world, Thanos, Ultron, the Snap, and decided the only way to save it was to control it. Picture this. A world where Tony Stark, broken by failure, guilt, and loss, abandons everything the Avengers stood for. No more team player. No more selfless hero. Instead, he becomes obsessed with one idea. He is the only one smart enough to fix everything. Sound familiar? That's not just Tony Stark talking. That's Doctor Doom. And in Avengers Doomsday, we could see these two geniuses, one from a technological empire, the other from a mystical monarchy face off in a way that flips the MCU upside down. So how does Tony Stark, the guy who built a suit in a cave, become the masked tyrant of Latveria? Let's break it down step by step, because trust me, the clues are everywhere. First things first, variants are the backbone of the MCU's Phase 4, 5, and 6. Loki showed us a Loki who was a hero, a Loki who was an alligator, yes, really, and a Loki who was a villain worse than Thanos. Spider-Man No Way Home gave us Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield as Peter Parkers, who made very different choices from Tom Holland's Spidey. In Multiverse of Madness, we saw a Doctor Strange who destroyed his entire universe because he thought he knew best. Variants aren't just copies. They're twists on the characters we know, shaped by their worlds, their pain, and their choices. So why couldn't Tony Stark have a variant who becomes Doctor Doom? Think about it. Tony's already walked the line between hero and villain his whole life. In Iron Man, he built weapons that killed thousands before he turned things around. In Age of Ultron, his obsession with a suit of armor around the world created a genocidal AI. In Civil War, he was ready to tear the Avengers apart to enforce his vision of order. Tony's heart is heroic, but his brain? His brain is always one bad day away from saying, I'm the only one who can fix this. Now imagine a universe where Tony doesn't have Pepper to ground him. No Morgan to fight for. No Happy to crack jokes. A universe where he fails. Not just a little, but catastrophically. Maybe he couldn't stop Thanos. Maybe the snap wiped out everyone he loved. In that moment, staring at the ashes of his world, Tony Stark doesn't double down on hope. He doubles down on control. And that's where the path to Doctor Doom begins. This fits perfectly with the MCU's multiversal narrative. We're already seeing heroes confront their darker selves. Wanda became the Scarlet Witch. Strange faced his corrupted variants. Why not Tony? A Tony Stark who becomes Doom wouldn't just be a cool twist. It would be a gut punch to every fan who thought his story ended in Endgame. Okay, let's talk about the visual side of this theory, because this is where it gets juicy. Picture this: Avengers Doomsday hits theaters. The screen lights up, and there's Dr. Doom, green cloak, silver mask, the whole deal. He's commanding an army, maybe fighting the Avengers, and then he takes off his mask. And it's Robert Downey Jr.'s face staring back at you. The theater loses it. But wait, then we cut to another Dr. Doom, the real Victor Von Doom, and he takes off his mask. And it's RDJ again. Two geniuses, two armors, two sides of the same coin. How does Marvel pull this off? Easy. They redesigned Dr. Doom's armor to look like an evolution of Iron Man's suit. Think about it. Tony's suits have always been sleek, high-tech, and iconic. Now imagine a version of that suit twisted by years of failure and desperation. Maybe it's bulkier, engraved with runes, glowing with dark magic instead of arc reactors. It's still Tony's armor, but it's been warped into something colder, something royal, something worthy of Latveria's king. And the real Doctor Doom? His armor could lean harder into the classic comics look, medieval, mystical, menacing, but with just enough Stark Tech vibes to make you question. Maybe both Dooms even move like Tony, with that cocky swagger RDJ brings to every role. Marvel could play with this visually, using RDJ's face to tease fans and lean into the nostalgia of seeing Tony Stark again, only to rip the rug out from under us when we realize this Tony isn't our hero. This isn't just fan service, it's storytelling genius. RDJ playing both Tony and Doom would let Marvel explore what makes these characters tick. Tony's charm and sarcasm versus Doom's cold, calculated rage. It's a mirror match that would have every fan on the edge of their seat, whispering, "Is that really Tony under there?" Now let's dig into the comics, because Marvel's been dropping breadcrumbs for this idea for years. In the comics, Tony Stark and Victor Von Doom have a fascinating relationship. They're not just rivals, they're foils. Both are geniuses, both are arrogant. Both think they're the only ones who can save the world. But where Tony chooses hope, Doom chooses domination. Sound like a variant waiting to happen? Here's the kicker. There's a comic run called Infamous Iron Man that flips the script entirely. In it, Tony Stark is dead, and Dr. Doom takes up the mantle of Iron Man. That's right. Doom puts on a red and gold suit and tries to be a hero. Why, Mom? Because deep down, Doom admires Tony. He sees Tony's ideals, his ingenuity, and wants to prove he can do it better. The comic shows Doom wrestling with his villainy, trying to live up to Tony's legacy, even as the world rejects him. Now, what if the MCU does the reverse? Instead of Doom becoming Iron Man, Tony becomes Doom. Imagine a Tony Stark who, after failing to save his world, looks at Victor Von Doom and thinks he's got the right idea. In this universe, Tony doesn't rebuild the Avengers. he rebuilds himself. He studies Doom's blend of science and sorcery, maybe even steals some of Doom's tech or magic, and forges a new identity. A ruler, a tyrant, a Doom. This isn't a stretch Marvel loves, pulling from the comics for inspiration. Civil War was based on a comic arc. Endgame's time heist had comic roots. An infamous Iron Man twist where Tony becomes Doom would be the kind of bold move Kevin Feige loves to make. It honors the source material while giving fans something totally new. Let's zoom in on what makes this theory work. Tony Stark and Dr. Doom are cut from the same cloth. Both are driven by one core belief: the world needs someone smarter to lead it. For Tony, that's always meant building better tech, better suits, better plans. For Doom, it's about ruling with an iron grip, using science and magic to bend reality to his will. Their goals are so close, it's scary. Think about Tony's arc in the MCU. In Iron Man 2, he's reckless, thinking he's untouchable. In Age of Ultron, he's so desperate to protect Earth that he creates Ultron, nearly wiping out humanity. In Civil War, he's ready to sign the Sokovia Accords because he believes the Avengers need oversight, his oversight. And in Endgame, even when he's retired, he can't resist solving time travel because deep down, he thinks he's the only one who can save everyone. Now take that same Tony Indy and put him in a darker universe. One where he doesn't win. Maybe Ultron succeeds. Maybe Thanos wipes out half the universe permanently. Tony's guilt, his arrogance, his need to fix things, it all spirals. He starts thinking like, Doom, if I can't save the world by being a hero, I'll save it by being a king. He builds a new suit, maybe learns magic to amplify his power, and declares himself the ruler of whatever's left. That's Dr. Doom's mindset in a nutshell. Doom doesn't see himself as a villain. He sees himself as a savior. He believes Latveria thrives because he controls it. Tony becoming a variant of Doom isn't just possible, it's natural. It's what happens when Tony's best qualities, his genius, his determination, get twisted by his worst ones, his ego, his obsession. All right, let's talk about Avengers Doomsday. The title alone is a massive clue. Doomsday doesn't sound like a happy ending. It sounds like the end of the world. And if Dr. Doom is the big bad of Avengers 5, like all the rumors suggest, then Marvel's setting up something huge. But here's the twist. What if Doom doesn't win alone? What if he has help from a Tony Stark variant? Imagine this scene. The Avengers, Captain America, Doctor Strange, Spider-Man, whoever's left, are fighting for their lives against Dr. Doom. They're losing badly. And then, from the shadows, another figure steps forward. Another Doom. The mask comes off and it's Tony. The team freezes. Steve Rogers' face crumples. Peter Parker's voice cracks, whispering, Mr. Stark. And Tony, cold as ice, says something like, this is the only way. That moment would destroy the Avengers and us. Seeing Tony, the guy who gave everything to save them, now fighting against them, it's emotional warfare. Marvel knows how much we love RDJ's Tony. Bringing him back as a villain would be the ultimate gut punch. a way to raise the stakes higher than ever. And it makes sense for Doom's plan. Victor Von Doom is a master manipulator. If he finds a Tony Stark variant who shares his goals, why wouldn't he team up? Two geniuses, two armors, two visions for control. It's a multiversal power couple from hell. Together, they could outsmart the Avengers, outfight them, and maybe even win. At least for a while. But here's where the story gets epic. Avengers. Doomsday might set up Doom and Tony as the ultimate threat, but Avengers, Secret Wars, is where it all comes full circle. In Secret Wars, Tony's variant gets a shot at redemption. Picture this. Tony, now fully entrenched as a Doom, starts to see cracks in Victor's plan. Maybe Doom wants to destroy the multiverse to remake it in his image. Maybe he's willing to sacrifice everything, every reality, every life for his vision. Tony, deep down, still has a spark of the hero he used to be. He remembers Pepper. He remembers Morgan. He remembers a saying, "I am Iron Man." And he realizes that Doom's path isn't salvation, it's annihilation. So what does Tony do? He switches sides. He betrays Victor Von Doom and fights alongside the Avengers one last time. But this is the MCU, and Tony Stark doesn't get a happy ending. To stop Doom, to save the multiverse, Tony makes the ultimate sacrifice again. Maybe he uses his armor, his magic, his everything to shut down Doom's plan, knowing it'll cost him his life. And as he fades away, he looks at the Avengers, maybe at Peter, maybe at Steve, and says, "I told you, I'm Iron Man." Cue the tears. Cue the cheering. Cue every fan in the theater losing their minds. It's Endgame all over again, but bigger. Tony's redemption arc as a Doom variant would give RDJ one last chance to steal the show, to remind us why we fell in love with his character, and to close the multiverse saga with a bang. So let's wrap this up. Imagine it. Avengers Doomsday. Two Robert Downey Jr.'s on screen. One still carrying the spark of the hero we know, the other fully embracing the villain he could have become. They clash, they team up, they tear the multiverse apart. And then, in Secret Wars, Tony gets one last shot to make things right. A final redemption. A final sacrifice. One last I am Iron Man moment that breaks the theater and leaves us all sobbing. This isn't just a theory, it's a story. It's Marvel taking everything we love about Tony Stark. His wit, his heart, his flaws, and pushing it to the next level. It's a chance to see RDJ play both sides of genius. To see the Avengers face their greatest ally as their greatest enemy. And have you ever wondered how the Marvel Universe might have changed if one simple choice had been different? What if Tony Stark, the genius billionaire behind the Iron Man suit, hadn't flown solo with the Avengers? What if instead he had joined forces with Marvel's first family, the Fantastic Four? Today on MovieCast, we dive deep into this alternate universe, exploring the benefits, the challenges, and the massive ripple effects across the entire Marvel world. So, buckle up, because this story is going to change everything you thought you knew about superheroes. It all begins in New York City, where the skyline glitters with promise. But one building stands out. The Baxter Building, home to the Fantastic Four. Reed Richards, Sue Storm, Johnny Storm, and Ben Grimm are already Legends heroes who gained their powers from a cosmic storm and vowed to protect humanity. Their days are filled with battles against interdimensional threats, scientific breakthroughs, and the kind of bickering only a family can perfect. But on this particular day, something unexpected happens. There's a knock at the door, not a literal one. Tony Stark doesn't do subtle. It's a message, delivered by a sleek drone hovering outside Reed's lab window, carrying a holographic projection of the man himself. Reed Richards, Tony's hologram says, his trademark smirk in full effect. I hear you're the smartest guy in the room. How about we test that theory together? Reed, hunched over a quantum stabilizer, raises an eyebrow. Sue, standing nearby, crosses her arms, her force field flickering instinctively. Johnny, lounging on a couch, perks up, intrigued by the audacity. Ben, polishing his massive orange fists, just grunts. Tony Stark wants to join the Fantastic Four? The idea feels like a cosmic anomaly. But Reed's curiosity, the same curiosity that sent them into that fateful space mission, gets the better of him. Let's hear him out, Reed says, and with those words, the Marvel Universe shifts forever. Tony arrives in person the next day, his suitcases filled with prototypes, and his mind buzzing with ideas. He's not the Tony Stark of later years, polished by teamwork and sacrifice. This is the Tony Frema from Afghanistan, brilliant, haunted, and burning with a need to prove he's more than a weapons dealer. He's seen what his creations can do in the wrong hands, and he's determined to use his genius for something greater. The Fantastic Four, with their mission of exploration and protection, feel like the perfect fit. But fitting in? That's another story. At first, it's like watching a supernova collide with a steady orbit. Tony's energy is electric, his ideas relentless. Reed, used to methodical progress, struggles to keep up with Tony's pace. Sue tries to play peacemaker, but she's wary of Tony's charm. It's too slick, too practiced. Johnny loves the excitement Tony brings, especially when he unveils a new gadget that makes the Human Torch's flames burn hotter. Ben, though, isn't impressed. Another rich kid thinking he's got all the answers, he mutters, and Tony's quick wit doesn't help. Big guy, I've got answers you haven't even dreamed of questions for, Tony shoots back. The tension is palpable, but so is the potential. The real magic happens in the lab. Reed and Tony, despite their differences, are like two stars orbiting each other, pulling brilliance into existence. Reed's mind is a universe of possibilities, mapping out theories that stretch across dimensions. Tony's is a laser, cutting through obstacles with practical, dazzling solutions. Together, they're unstoppable. Imagine the Fantasticar, that iconic flying vehicle, reborn under Tony's touch. It's no longer just a sleek transport. It's a shape-shifting marvel, capable of folding into a submarine, a starship, or even a portal to other realities. Reed sketches the math. Tony builds the circuits. The result? A machine that can chase Galactus himself through the cosmos. But it's not just about toys for the team. Tony's influence pushes the Fantastic Four's tech to new heights. He designs suits for each member, tailored to amplify their powers. Sue's force fields become precision instruments, able to carve molecules or shield entire cities. Johnny's flames can now be directed like a laser, hot enough to cut through vibranium. Ben's rocky hide gets an exoskeletal upgrade, making him stronger without losing his heart. And Reed? Tony builds him a neural interface that lets him stretch his mind as far as his body, processing data at quantum speeds. These aren't just upgrades. They're revolutions. The lab sessions stretch into the night, filled with arguments and breakthroughs. Tony's impatient, always pushing to test a prototype before Reed's ready. "We don't have time to triple-check every decimal," Tony says, tossing a wrench onto a blueprint. Reed adjusts his glasses, calm but firm. One mistake in the negative zone, and we're all atoms. It's a dance of opposites. Tony's instinct versus Reed's caution. But the results speak for themselves. They create energy shields that rival Asgardian magic, medical nanobots that cure diseases once thought incurable, and a clean energy reactor that makes Stark Industries' arc reactor look like a flashlight. The world notices. Outside the Baxter Building, humanity feels the ripple effects. Tony's business acumen meets Reed's idealism. And the Fantastic Four become more than heroes. They become innovators. Their tech leaks into society, not through corporate greed, but through open-source patents, a condition Reed insists on. Hospitals use their nanobots to save lives. Cities adopt their energy systems, slashing carbon emissions. Space programs, inspired by the Fantasticar, launch probes to distant stars. Tony, who once built weapons for profit, now sees his work heal the world. For the first time, he feels like he's earning his redemption. But every story has its shadows, and this one's no different. The Fantastic Four have always been a family, bound by love and loyalty as much as powers. Tony, for all his brilliance, doesn't fit easily into that mold. He's used to being the star, the one calling the shots. In Stark Industries, his word was law. In the Baxter Building, he's one of 5, and the others aren't shy about reminding him. Sue, the team's heart, senses Tony's struggle to belong. She tries to bridge the gap, but Tony's sarcasm, his shield against vulnerability, keeps her at a distance. Johnny, who initially vibed with Tony's flair, starts to chafe when Tony's plans overshadow his own ideas. Ben's resentment grows with every quip. Every moment, Tony seems to forget what it's like to be human, not a genius in a penthouse. The real fracture comes during a mission to the negative zone, a realm of chaos where even the Fantastic Four tread carefully. Annihilus, a tyrant of that dimension, threatens to breach Earth's reality. Tony, true to form, wants to hit hard and fast, deploying a new weapon he's built, a dimensional disruptor that could seal the breach in seconds. Reed, studying the data, warns it's unstable. "We need more time to understand the consequences," he says, his voice steady but urgent. Tony scoffs. "Time's a luxury we don't have, Stretch." The argument escalates, voices echoing in the lab. Johnny sides with Tony, eager for action. Sue pleads for unity. Ben just glares, muttering about fancy toys causing more harm than good. In the end, Tony acts alone. He takes the disruptor into the negative zone, triggering it against Reed's warnings. The breach closes, and Annihilus is repelled, but the shock wave destabilizes the zone, trapping the team in a collapsing pocket dimension. They escape, barely, thanks to Sue's shields and Reed's quick thinking. But the damage is done. Back at the Baxter Building, the air is thick with anger. "You could have killed us all," Ben roars, slamming a fist into a wall. Tony, uncharacteristically quiet, meets Reed's gaze. "I saved the day," he says, but there's doubt in his voice. Reed doesn't reply, and that silence cuts deeper than any words. The tension isn't just personal, it's philosophical. Reed sees science as a journey, a way to understand the universe's mysteries. Tony sees it as a weapon, a means to shape the future. Their clash threatens to unravel the team. Missions become strained, with Tony and Reed issuing conflicting orders. Sue struggles to hold them together, but even she feels the cracks. Johnny's recklessness spikes, egged on by Tony's daring. Ben retreats, his loyalty to Reed warring with his frustration at the chaos Tony's brought. The Fantastic Four, once a family, feel like a machine on the verge of breaking. The world beyond the Baxter Building feels the shift too. Tony's presence makes the Fantastic Four a global force, but it also paints a target on their backs. Dr. Doom, Reed's eternal rival, watches from Latveria, his eyes narrowing at the news of Stark's involvement. Doom has always measured himself against Reed, but Tony's genius, flashy, defiant feels like an insult. Richards was challenge enough, Doom muses, his voice a low growl behind his mask. But Stark? He dares to stand in my way? Doom's attacks grow bolder, blending sorcery and science in ways even Tony struggles to counter. Their battles are cataclysms, castles crumbling, skies splitting, tech clashing with magic. Tony's upgrades give the team an edge, but Doom adapts, his hatred burning hotter with every defeat. One battle changes everything. Doom unleashes a doomsday device, a fusion of mystic runes and stolen Kree tech, threatening to unravel reality itself. Tony, Reed, and the team face him in a showdown that spans dimensions. Tony's new armor, built with Reed's cosmic insights, holds its own against Doom's power. Sue's shields protect cities from collateral damage. Johnny burns brighter than ever, a living star. Ben smashes through Doom's constructs, a force of nature. Together they disable the device, forcing Doom to retreat, but not before he wounds Tony, a mystic blade piercing his armor. As Sue tends to him, Tony gasps, "Worth it." But the team knows the cost. Doom's still out there, plotting, and he's learned their strengths and weaknesses. The Fantastic Four's influence ripples outward. Tony's connections draw in Nick Fury and S.H.I.E.L.D., who see the team as a strategic asset. Early Avengers like Hank Pym and Janet Van Dyne consult with Reed and Tony, their tech inspired by the Baxter Building's breakthroughs. Wakanda shares vibranium in exchange for energy tech, forging a bond with T'Challa. Namor, king of Atlantis, grudgingly respects their power. Even the Inhumans, secluded in Atalan, open diplomatic channels, intrigued by Tony's charisma and Reed's vision. The Fantastic Four aren't just adventurers anymore. They're leaders, shaping a world where science and heroism intertwine. Young minds take notice, too. Kids who once dreamed of being Spider-Man now study physics, inspired by Reed and Tony's inventions. Universities overflow with STEM students, fueled by the Fantastic Four's open-source patents. The Baxter Building becomes a beacon, not just of power, but of possibility. But with that power comes scrutiny. Governments whisper about regulating the team's tech. Corporations, jealous of their innovations, plot sabotage. And cosmic forces, the Kree, the Skrulls, even whispers of Galactus turn their gaze toward Earth, sensing a new player in the galactic game. As the story unfolds, the Fantastic Four face their greatest challenge, themselves. Tony's recklessness and Reed's caution clash one final time during a crisis involving the Skrulls, who infiltrate Earth using tech stolen from the Baxter Building. Tony blames Reed for not securing their systems. Reed accuses Tony of rushing prototypes into the field. The team splinters, each member grappling with their role. Sue, tired of mediating, demands they confront their flaws. Johnny admits he's been chasing Tony's approval. Ben confesses his anger hides fear of being left behind. Tony, staring at his reflection in a shattered armor plate, finally speaks the truth. I thought I could fix everything, but maybe I'm breaking it. Reed, ever the scientist, proposes a solution. Trust. They rebuild. Not just their tech, but their bond. Tony learns to listen, and tempering his instincts with Reed's wisdom. Reed embraces risk, inspired by Tony's courage. Sue, Johnny, and Ben find their places in this new dynamic stronger for it. The Skrulls are defeated, not by gadgets, but by unity. A family, imperfect but unbreakable. So, what if Tony Stark joined the Fantastic Four? The world would be brighter, smarter, bolder. Their tech would touch the stars, curing diseases, powering cities, and opening new frontiers. Their missions would be precision strikes, blending Tony's strategy with Reed's foresight. Humanity would look to them, not just for protection, but for inspiration. A reminder that genius, when guided by heart, can change everything. But it wouldn't be easy. Tony's ego, his need to prove himself, would spark fires that threatened to consume the team. Reed's caution would frustrate. Sue's patience would wear thin. Johnny's impulsiveness would flare, and Ben's loyalty would be tested. They'd face enemies like Doom, who'd see Tony as a new challenge, and cosmic threats drawn by their power. The Fantastic Four would be a paradox stronger than ever, yet always one argument from collapse. And that's what makes this story sing. It's messy. Like all great Marvel tales, it's about heroes who stumble, who fight, not just villains, but their own flaws. Tony Stark joining the Fantastic Four would be a saga of brilliance and chaos, of family forged in fire. It would remind us that even the brightest minds need each other to shine. And now, we want to hear from you. What do you think would happen if Tony Stark had joined the Fantastic Four? Would they have soared to even greater heights? Or would they have collapsed under the weight of their own genius? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoyed this journey through an alternate Marvel universe, be sure to like this video, subscribe to MovieCast, and hit that notification bell so you never miss another epic what-if adventure. And don't forget to suggest other superhero team-ups you'd like us to explore next.